Hey, it's Cap's CarCast. Today, we're talking about the Force. Let's drive.
Get down. Get down. Get down.
So the other day, we talked about the plan and the necessity of evaluating your plan, because if it's poor and on top of that poorly communicated, then it really could be a demoralizing force within and across your company. So a lot of questions came in about what's the most important element to creating a cohesive plan. And it's a complicated answer. There's simplicity to it, but let's place aside for a second the discipline of planning, and instead talk about part of the essence and the DNA that you need to have across your leadership team and indeed across your company to make a plan worthwhile. And it's really a key factor, and that's trust. And you know what? I can't say it enough. Like if you're, and it starts with the leadership team, right? So if the CEO does not have a requisite amount of trust across his leadership team, that it's never going to get better as the further across and down you go in the organization. But then let's look at the other end of the spectrum. Let's talk about a team that's 5 levels removed, maybe in a regional office, and not as connected to headquarters, let's say. If that smaller team is not able to trust one another, then even if it's a good plan, it's not going to be carried out and accomplished very well. So that's got to be the biggest thing. So how do you nurture that trust? Well, I think the biggest component of it is we have to be comfortable within a certain degree of conflict, right? So look at, I hate to even use this example, right? But you hear people say marriage is a lot of work. And marriage is a lot of work because there's big, heavy things, life-impacting things that two people need to be on the same page about. And guess what? Sometimes they're not always on the same page. But a healthy marriage, there's a level of trust and a degree of trust between spouses, right? So we need to reflect that, right? So the company needs to become a family, if you will, and be comfortable in the natural discourse of conflict when it arises, because I guarantee you it will inevitably arise. Now, there's some out there that will, poo-poo the idea of conflict and saying, oh, well, that's a negative culture. I could not disagree more, right? Conflict isn't a negative. It could be a positive, and it could be a driving force into where we want to head in the future and how we want to do and win together and make the world a better place. Why? Because especially as the company grows, no single area of the business has a monopoly over what's right or the right and current perspective. It just is not. As a matter of fact, once a company gets past, say, 10 employees, let's say, and there's specialists, so there's a sales specialist, there's a finance specialist, maybe marketing specialist, or whatever it might be, a delivery or operations person, right? These specialists are exactly that. Their specialty is understanding their area, and they have a very strong perspective that comes from that area. So, and oh, by the way, the sales perspective, drive and bring in new revenue, might not always be aligned with the operational perspective of how do we deliver the service. And there could be real reasons why I have to do both. Sell the new piece of business ahead of our ability to execute, and a red flag that's raised to say that, listen, our ability to execute in this particular area that you're trying to sell today is so immature that you're going to hurt the company. That's conflict, and that exists. It's real. So you can't shy away from it. You have to be comfortable in that conflict, and that comfort will ultimately help build and nurture and develop trust across the entire organization. So there you have it. That's what I say. That's my 2 cents for you today, is pump up the volume on trust by being comfortable in the necessity of natural conflict as it arises across the company. Hey, one last thing. Hopefully you're enjoying these. If you are, why not consider subscribing to Cap's CarCast? Thanks, and we'll see you next time.